Hi, I'm Dr. Gemma, and welcome back to Cognitive, the Knitting Psychology podcast. Cheerfully and somewhat irregularly in business since 2008. Segments today may include what's on my hooks, needles, and spindles, a strategy, something I really like, put a lid on it, oh shoot, and blather. So sit back, put your feet up, pick up your knitting, crocheting, spinning, weaving, or dyeing, or any other yarny thing you're doing, and get ready to enjoy. Well, hello, it's Dr. Gemma, and welcome back, or welcome for the first time if you're a newbie, to episode 160 of the Cognitive Podcast. It's an exciting week around here as I get ready to go off to Evolution of Psychotherapy in Anaheim. I will be down there by Thursday evening at the latest, and I'm very excited. Some really nice talks and getting in a lot of good units for my continuing ed. So this should be very exciting and very fun. I do have to tell you in the show notes, the picture at the top just had me laughing hysterically. It's one of those dog shaming photos, and it's a very attractive golden retriever, and it's got a sign around its neck, and it says, "I ate the baby Jesus from our Christmas nativity scene, ... not looking forward to the second coming." I laughed myself sick, so I'm happy to share that one with you. By the time you hear this, probably around December 15th or 16th, I will be at Evolution, so think kind thoughts of me as I nerd out on my favorite subject in the entire world, which would be what makes humans tick. Meanwhile, in the Warm Thanks department, Prairie Poet, that was the sweetest message. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. I believe that's over in the Ravelry notes for the rest of you on 159. And I have to tell you, I am deeply honored to be your spinning partner. It is always a pleasure to hear from you and to know that you are out there and hanging in there, Prairie Poet. I really appreciate the heads up. Lovely, lovely post. Thank you. Meanwhile, on to the Cognitive Fiber Retreat 10, which is, of course, 2024. All the info is there. There is a link to it that is in the show notes. And I would just tell you to go there if you want to see the latest news. I'm still settling the contract with the hotel, but it is not at all a difficult process. It is more just me getting the time to do it, but I'm quite happy about it. Assuming we get 50 people, I should be able to drop the price a little bit, which I'm looking forward to. And, it's one of those, well, it's not that much of a change, but I really do appreciate that we've been through a lot of quarantine and prices have gone up. And I want to really try to do any kind of price reduction I can. Oh, before I go on to what's on my hooks and needles, please be aware, if you went to a Cognitive Fiber Retreat in the past, any of the other 9 that we've had, you are already on the list for CFR 10. That is. No, you have to tell me you want to come. I'm not going to just automatically make this list. It would be about 300 people long. Okay, but we always give first dibs to our people who are returning. So when we open enrollment for CFR 10, please be aware that you're on the list. If you've ever attended a CFR, you get first pick ahead of anybody who has never attended. We really do try to privilege our previous attendees. We want to form a bunch of loyal groupies and a bunch of crazed fanatics who want to get in. Okay, now on to what's on my hooks and needles. Well, it's been sock week around here. I have not been working on the crocheted cows very much. So you can see a picture of my finished first sock from, yes, the scrap yarns accumulated at CFR 23. I had a really good time with this. Some of these I think were originally in my stash. But anyway, a lot of these were traded in during our mini skein exchange. And I'm pretty happy about that. Now, the bottom of it, you may notice, looks like its own pattern sock because it is. what happened is I get all these scraps and I want to be able to make an inch of sock from each scrap. But when I get down to the foot, I like to keep it all in one yarn because I don't want to have a lot of loose ends inside the foot. I don't want to be walking on loose ends. And I have learned a new trick there, which is I go through my yarns and I find yarns that are hard wearing but that I don't like that much. So the feet on these socks happens to be some Regia. I got a really terrific sale package a while back. I was recording this podcast at the time, so you will have heard it go by if you paid attention. It was Little Knits, which is an online store, for me at least, and they had this amazing Regia sale where they were just selling oddballs, and you could pick out 5 or 6 and they'd put them together for you. These were 400 gram of their sock yarn, and it is sock. It is nylon and wool. And I think it was I can't remember, it was 5 or 6 skeins for like $40. It was ridiculously cheap. That's what I really want you to hear. I was paying like $6 a skein for 400 yards of Regia good quality sock yarn. And I got them in the mail and I looked at them and said, what on earth was I thinking? I didn't really like the colorways. But you know what? That kind of purchase is great to make the feet of your socks. That is simply super duper because the hand-dyed yarns that you buy from specialty dyers are softer and usually not quite as hard-wearing, not always, as Regia is. So I'm becoming a big fan of putting Regia feet on my scrappy socks. So there you can see one. I'm very happy with that. As you can see, it is an afterthought heel for those of you who are wondering. In progress, the Stash Toss has frozen right now. It's at 38 in versus 80 out. However, if I would ever finish these sweaters, and I'm looking at the cowls and the scrappy socks and thinking, should I add a skein out for each one of those? Because I've probably used that much. I don't know, I'm thinking about it, but I don't usually count anything made from scraps, with the exception of a sweater. The Romule sweater is a bunch of skeins of hand spun, and some of my yarns that I just never used that I had in bits and pieces left, my oddballs. I will definitely be counting that. I'm already up to, 2, 4, oh my gosh, like about 8 skeins on the Romule. When I finish the skeins, the current ones I'm on, but I'm only in the collar. I'm almost to the sleeve divide. It's driving me crazy. If you pay attention at the very bottom, but it's all bunched up because this is all bunched up on the needles. They're a little short for this part of the sweater. So it looks very bunched up and puffed out, but no, it's not. But if you look at the very bottom, there are very simple little doggies, like little terriers. At the very bottom, they're in the colored yarn, but you can't see it. It really has to be blocked and stretched out properly. But I'm having such a good time on the Romule 23 sweater. And I have to say, I'm just deeply happy with that folded neckline. Next time I make this sweater pattern, and I will make it again, I will probably expand that to a turtleneck, because it's certainly easy to do. You make the normal neck and you don't fold it and connect it to itself. You just keep it straight up. And that gives you a less pleasing neckline at the very top. The folded neckline gives you a very pleasing neckline because you don't see the cast on. You just see this very nice folded in half ribbing. However, I like it both ways. Anyway, the Romule sweater, I keep trying to put it down, but I just want so badly to get to the divide for the sleeves because it is so hard to get around a row in these bulky yarns with this sort of short set of needles. But I am extremely happy on the Romule sweater. It is cooking along. Meanwhile, I mentioned that I finished one scrappy sock. Well, my scrappy socks, I love them. And they go so fast because I get so fascinated by the patterns that emerge when I just randomly stripe them. So you guessed it, I'm already on the foot of the second sock. I've already got the leg done. I haven't put in the heel yet, and I've got the foot. So I'm easily 4 inches down my 5 3/4 inches before I decrease for the toe and then do the heel. So those scrappy socks, they're very likely to be finished. I'm seriously thinking I'm going to take them with me to Evolution and also probably going to take the blueberry waffle sock in the deep forest. I am also on that second sock. I am also past the waste yarn for the afterthought heel. That is another pair of socks that is just spectacular. And I keep thinking, what am I going to take to knit on at Evolution of Psychotherapy? Because I get a lot of knitting time. And at the same time, I don't want to carry a lot of luggage because I'm taking a train. So you can probably guess I'm thinking leaving the sweaters home and taking all the scrappy socks stuff. Like just take a bag of the scrap yarns, take the collars that I want to finish expanding on, take the Vineyard cowl, which is in a whole separate set of yarns. It's in those leftover silks. But I'm thinking I don't want to crochet the whole time because it'll be too hard on my arms. But I'm thinking, yeah, I'll probably take the scrap cowls and the Vineyard cowl because they're small and easy to carry, and a bag of my scrappy yarns and the 2 pairs of socks if they're not finished, and just start with finishing the socks and then working on the cowls here and there. And if I finish the socks and I want to knit more, I'll cast on another pair of scrappies. Shocking but true. I am just crushing my way through all this beautiful leftover sock yarn. And I can't explain why when the weather gets cold, I just want to work in scrap and oddball yarns. I can't even explain it. But oh my goodness, there's always a million other projects I want to do. I've got about 4 sweaters sitting in front of me that I want to start. It is just inconceivable. So we'll see how that goes. But I would like to finish with all the scrappy stuff, except for the Romule very soon. I'd also like to finish the poor Superstition sweater, which needs a sleeve and a half and it's done. And again, I would take it with me, but it's a lot to carry on a train ride. Now, the Pennsylvania Dutch embroidery might be a really good thing to take with me. I look at that and say, hadn't thought about that. That might be nice. But embroidery takes a lot of brain space for me compared to just knitting socks. So we have to see. I also have a breathtaking skein of yarn, very old, from the stash. And I'm looking at that going, I could wind that and I could start that one and leave all my scrappy stuff at home and just have one neat little bag with a neat little pair of socks to work on. Not so much. I'm not ready to start a 3rd pair of socks. I've got 2 in the works here. Boy, have I got enough socks. Okay. And yes, Dizzy Blondes, I'm very tempted to take my Eel Wheel Nano with me because it'd be so easy to take. I don't have a hard shell case for it. I'm thinking about, can I get a quick train case from Amazon that I like and use that to carry it, because that would be just rigid enough. But it is very tempting to take the Nano along with me and just spin on the train while we're about it. Oh, the decisions. Actually, I'm not sure where the connector is for the Nano's utterly reliable and long-lasting battery, so that's a question in itself. I'm missing a few pieces of my computer gear lately, and I have to go through this place because it is just jammed with yarn everywhere to find them. Meanwhile, let's stop that. Okay, let's get on to a strategy. Well, as you can guess, we're on the annual holiday strategies. I say almost the same thing every year because these are the fundamentals. And the first one is the finances that I did last week. The second one is your daily routine. Please, particularly if you have kids, I beg of you, unless you want to hire someone like me to clear up the mess afterwards, that is after your holidays, please try, when the kids are all home from school, try to give them a schedule and stick with it. The chaos of kids who are not on a routine, well, we've all been there, haven't we, parents? It's horrifying. Kids actually do better with routines. This is so heavily researched and documented. And it's because kids aren't born with them and kids feel safe in them. And frankly, a lot of adults do. It is an interesting thing. I was talking to someone today who wants to write a doctoral dissertation. And she was saying, how do I know I can do this if I apply to graduate schools? And the answer is, can you work off a routine? Because I will tell you, 2 PhDs into the game, the place where people fail is they can't handle unscheduled time. This is a real human thing. We like schedules. We like routines. Now, you know this. When you try to teach your kids how to get up in the morning and get ready for school, you taught them a fixed routine. We get up, we turn around, we make our bed. Then we go down the hall, we go to the bathroom, we brush our teeth, we wash our hands, we brush our hair. Then we, take our shower. Then we go and put our clothes on. That we have a routine, and we all do in the morning. Most of us are pretty predictable in the morning, okay? And that's how you get your kid going. You don't want them to start developing a hatred of brushing their teeth or the hair or whatever. And to do that, you have to get them to a place where they don't think about it, where you have unthinking routines. Okay. On the holidays, you want to try and do the same thing. You want to try to get your kids up at a good time. I know what you're doing. You're saying, let them sleep till 10 a.m. Those are hours of freedom for me as a parent. Sure, okay. I mean, my parents used to do that. They just left us alone, but once you got up, you had to do an hour of cleaning around the house. We were little kids. You can imagine how successful that was. But with 8 people in your house, in your family, that actually matters, even if you do it badly. It made a big difference. So, we would get up and my mom would point at one of us and say, you are going to vacuum the living room floor. You are going to pick up in our TV room, and so on. And you can have someone who's responsible. You can make a chart. Who's going to do the breakfast dishes? Who's going to clear the table for the breakfast dishes? That sort of thing. But you want to try to come up with simple routines that your kids can get into and you can keep them in during the holidays. This is because when family starts to show up, everything gets chaotic and out of control. So you want to try to have kind of roughed out schedules. Now, I mean roughed out. So if you have family coming, maybe you're going to say from 10 a.m. to noon, we go to the park and everybody can play in the park, the relatives as well. It doesn't have to be so rigid like, no, sorry, great Uncle Tom, who we never see, you can't play with Bella because she must do X. We don't want to get that rigid. Okay, but you want a sort of general sense of what everybody's going to do all day long. And yes, I know what half of you are saying, like, oh, that'll never work, because emergencies or craziness or crises or whatever will arise. Yes, they will. So you just want a general sense. Like, for example, people used to visit me when I was at Stanford. And so we always had the day we went to wine country. We had the day we went up to the San Francisco Zoo. When I had the place up in Pullman, Washington, and my friends would come up for a week over Thanksgiving, we always had the day where we walked down to Swilly's. We always had the day where we took the skis over to the golf course to do cross country because my friends were coming from California. So we were doing cross country skiing and everybody just had fun. You had to sort of rough out things. So I will tell you, for the holidays, if you're going to have the kids home, you want to rough out routines. If you're home on vacation, you want to rough out a routine. If there's that big event you want to do before the holidays hit, you want to sit down together and say, what day are we going to do that visit to Knott's Berry Farm or whatever you're thinking. But please, don't just let your holidays happen, particularly if you have visitors and or kids. You really need to think about what the routines are going to be, what the schedules will be like. You want to do it now before you have too many voices, too many chefs spoiling the broth, as it were. And I would also say you might look at your cooking that way too. That you might want to really take a look at what you've got in the fridge and the freezer and get yourself stocked up, because next week will be insane at the stores. So try to do that. Okay, so, as the holidays approach, I know I sound like I'm trying to say it both ways, but you want to sort of rough out routines for the days everybody has off. You want to pick the special places and which day would be the best time to go to the special place or do the special activity. And you want to look at what you've got for meals before everybody arrives. And you want to try and stay with that. And when I say this, I am also really emphasizing the normal routines that you don't want to lose. So if you have a child who has piano lessons, you don't want to lose that. You want to stick to, we do the piano lesson every Wednesday at 3 p.m. You really want to stick to that kind of thing. You have the kid who goes to a socialization group or some kind of therapy. You want to try and stick to it. When you disrupt things like that, things go ugly. If you disrupt health, including mental health routines, things go ugly. If you have a tradition that you go for a run for half an hour every morning, for heaven's sake, keep running. If you have a tradition where you do a turkey trot on Christmas Day to burn off that turkey, take all the relatives with you and enjoy yourself as you breeze around your 5K course and they struggle, but everybody gets a medal at the end. But stick with your traditions, stick with your routines. Believe me, it makes things easier and controls the chaos. On to the fluffy books. Well. I got a pleasant surprise. I started going through the Hero's Journal. There's a link in the show notes. This week, my husband was asking me for a cognitive behavioral workbook for a friend of his. And I pulled out Christine Padesky's wonderful Mind Over Mood. She's the second author listed. I don't know the first author, so I just say Padesky. But it's called Mind Over Mood. I highly recommend that, as I've said previously, along with David Burns' The Feeling Good Handbook. Having said that, so these two guys got together and said, a good cognitive behavioral workbook for change could be like a quest. And using the Adventures of Zelda and Lord of the Rings, they came up with the Hero's Journal. And the first volume is Legends. And they eventually did so well, they came out with a second and a third. And I have given you the link to their website. Let me warn you now, their webmaster is out of control. There are mistakes all over it, bad editing. There are things you can buy, except there's no link to the shopping cart. There is a whole lot of trouble with this site. They have a lot of mistakes in it. So you may have to navigate around on it. The thing that makes me happy is because I'm saying this and like 4 recording devices in this room are catching it and sending it to Google and other places, I know that my social media will be full of the Hero's Journal. Why is that good? Because they will send the link for the 15% discount or for their Black Friday sale, which is still on if you get the right link. So I will tell you right now, if you want to look into this, stand in front of all your computers and say, the Hero's Journal. Say it about 5 times so at least something that records your voice will get it and feed it to your algorithms and you will get the discounts. But I gave you the link the best I have. I told you before that I'd gotten this, and I also got one of the decks of SideQuest cards. I deeply regret I didn't buy all 3 decks, to be honest. But the Hero's Journal, I finally started working it this week, yesterday in fact, and I love it. It is a cognitive behavioral journal. And so you go into it, it asks you what your goal is. It asks you what your life would be like in 3 months if you didn't do the goal and what would happen if you did. I actually made 2 goals. One was a savings goal and the other was an exercise goal. And I started last week because I got so excited because you may remember I downloaded the digital versions, which cost a whole lot less than the beautifully bound leather volumes that come with little extras like stickers and a bookmark with a tracker on it to keep track of the things you do. Yeah, I didn't get that. I got the digital version. No regrets there because you can just print it out at FedEx or out of your own printer and then you can put it in a binder and carry it around. But I'm using the digital version on my Remarkable, which means I can write on the PDF. I can also erase it when I'm done if I want to, and I can also duplicate it while it's empty before I write in it. I'm having a great time. Can you tell? In questy type terms, the Hero's Journal will explain to you various concepts about cognitive behavioral therapy, really. And then you have a few places where you sign a contract that you're going to do this and commit to it, and you outline what you want to do. And it's very easy and it's very encouraging. Like they say, you can change it at any time. Don't worry about it. It's just between you and this book. And then you get into the daily pages. And I did my first daily page. I had to start on day 8, I think, because I did a whole week of my 2 goals before I even opened the journal because I couldn't make the time. Well, it's working out great. So I can now tell you, since I started the Hero's Journal, I've biked over 20 miles on my bike desk, and I have saved close to $500. I am really, really pleased with this. I think this is a great way to do a cognitive behavioral journal. It's a great way to do change, and I don't feel overwhelmed with the technical language of my profession, which I know anyway. I'm enjoying it immensely. So if you want to make change and you like gaming or questing or Tolkien or whatever, I really recommend the Hero's Journal. Go over and wander around the website and see what you like. It's been great for me. The other fluffy book is actually a film. It's on Netflix. This reminded my husband when we were talking about it of Marvel's Guardian of the Galaxies, in that this is the franchise that should never have worked. It's stupid, it's goofy, it's ridiculous, but what am I talking about? DC League of Super Pets. This is one of the best movies I have seen in a long time. I can't believe I am saying this. This is a super, super movie. This is funny, clever. It's loaded with Easter eggs, particularly if you're like me, you've been reading DC since the 1960s. It's just one in-joke after another, but even without the in-jokes, it is so funny and so clever, and best of all, it's got enormous soul. That the point of it really is the suffering in the world that happens because people do not give love appropriately. And the ending will make you want to stand up and cheer. I cannot tell you how funny the Batman jokes are. They start with Squeaky Bruce. And I was thinking for the first half hour of the movie, this is cute. And then it went into overdrive. The absolute Easter egg is that Keanu Reeves is voicing Batman. He does an over-the-top perfect job. All the voice actors are superb. It is just so good. And it is funny. It refers back to the 1980s Superman, the one with Christopher Reeve. And it's just hilarious. Apparently they feel free to sort of bend that story a little bit to include Krypto, the super dog. It's just great. I can't say enough good things about this movie. I thought it was hilarious. Whenever you do pets, there's going to be jokes about bodily waste and all that, because dogs can be a little gross, you know. And even that is handled well. I love the movie. I am waiting a week to watch it again because it is just so watchable. And I just know the more you watch it, the more funny things you're going to catch in it. I can't tell you, they make all the jokes you always want them to make, like Wonder Woman's invisible jet jokes, and I can't even, like, it is so funny. Batman, I work alone, that whole string of humor, I was dying. The matchup of Batman and Ace, where they both talk about their childhoods, oh my god, it's so funny. And it's referring to the Batman animation that used to be on, I think, Fox when they do it. It's just so good. They just catch everything. My favorite line, I don't mind telling you, is, well, you know what they say about dogs? Yeah, don't give them chocolate. I don't know why, but it's hilarious. I really recommend the DC League of Super Pets on Netflix. Get everybody around and watch it. But let me tell you something. I'm 63. I thought it was wonderful. I thought it was hilarious and wonderful. It's a whole family movie. DC, who has a tradition of really poorly made movies that can't keep up with the original Marvel movies, you know, now before they, ran out of plot lines and did their apocalyptic ending. Well, they really hit it out of the park with this one. Just like Marvel's outliers, Guardians of the Galaxy, you don't see this one coming. You don't realize how good this is going to be and how smart and funny it is. Meanwhile, back at something I really like, the side quest cards. I spent Saturday and Sunday doing side quests based on the deck from the Hero's Journal, the original one, the Legends book, and I had so much fun. You pull a card and you do what it says. I did everything from clean the car to write a 5-star review for a local business to write a poem to look up the origins of my name, which I actually know, but that's always fun, to drink 5 glasses of water. My favorite so far was one said, Polar Bear Challenge, take a cold shower. I looked at it and I said, no, that's just ridiculous. Then I thought, wait. I had taken a hot bath that morning and I did not empty the bathtub because it was scented beautifully and I was enjoying the scent. And it was one of my Japanese onsen powders and I just loved it. And so I just never emptied the tub. Also, that keeps Minerva from walking into the tub with the grit from the cat box on her paws, and then I have to clean it out. Yeah. So I walk in the bedroom and I realized I had to do my biking. And then I looked at that and I said, I've got a bathtub full of water and I'm supposed to take a cold shower. So I biked and then I jumped into my bathtub. I did take my clothes off, you'll be happy to know. I jumped into that bathtub. It was not ice cold by any means. It was a great experience. First of all, I was absolutely stunned. I just sat on the side, put my feet in it and said, here goes nothing, and lowered all of me into it. It was so refreshing. It was cool, and it wasn't particularly dirty. You know, it wasn't like I'd been filthy when I bathed that morning. But, you know, I got out and I sort of showered myself down with the shower head just in case there was a little bit of slime. I felt great all day. That second dip in the tub just left me feeling wonderful. So I have just been massively enjoying the side quest cards. And again, you can get that on the link that is above in Fluffy Books in the Hero's Journal. Put a lid on it. Well, I am still, as you know, exploring the Plum Deluxe Advent Calendar. And I had 1 week entry. So far, I think I'm on, as we speak, it's December 11th, 2023 at 7:08 p.m. So I'm on day 11. There have been 2 weak entries. And I mean weak, that was their problem. They probably had good flavors looking at their ingredients, but they just came out extremely weak. And so one of them was day 2, which should have been better than it was. It was caramelized apple, I think that's orange obel. And I really, yes, wanted this to be great. This is everything it should be, but it was faint. So my sense of it is either I got an old bag or something. Both of the samples of it were just faint. Or you really have to use more than this amount to get the tea you want. It has a fabulous fragrance in the raw. When you steep it, it actually loses a lot of that. It becomes very forgettable. So I suspect that this one, the caramelized apple orange herbal, is good, but it is weak for what it is. You have to add more than you typically would if you're using a cup of loose leaf tea. However, on day 3, I got a 100% winner. This was the chocolate hazelnut dessert herbal. Ooh, did I enjoy this. This just hit the spot for me. Plum Deluxe has a tendency to use nuts in their tea. I am not a big fan of that. The nutty scent puts me off a little bit, but I have to tell you, this one, the chocolate hazelnut I gotta say it all slowly here. Chocolate hazelnut dessert herbal. It's a bit of a mouthful. This one is just a winner. Everything in it worked for me. I love the flavor. I like the fragrance. I didn't insanely love the fragrance because, again, the nutty smell doesn't really make me happy. If you like the nutty smell, you're probably going to love it. But even I liked it enough, fragrance-wise, to say I just thought this was one of their best. This is a real winner. Everybody take a deep breath. We're going on to the blather. First of all, I wish all of you who celebrate a very happy Hanukkah. And I think I missed Diwali, so my regrets on that. If you celebrate Diwali, I hope it was wonderful. And I'm looking at the Hebrew written on my little meme, and I'm going, I have no idea how to pronounce that. So I will not insult those of you who are able to speak Hebrew by pretending I can. But I hope you're having a wonderful Hanukkah and a peaceful, happy one at that. There's not a lot of news on the pup date, and I haven't been working on the watercolors. The hub state, well, no progress on Project G right now. I'm just putting that off till after the holidays, or probably during the holidays after Christmas Day. I'll have the time to go through the boxes and get rid of some stuff. However, the beloved son has put up our tree with the lights, but without the decorations. So we have a tree. I haven't wrapped a darn thing. I know, it's going to happen 2 weeks to Christmas from today, so it's going to have to happen. Probably I'm going to be wrapping like a maniac. Although both of them got such a big central present that I don't have a lot to wrap, but even so. I haven't been working on Project Transcribe and Project Cookbook. Nope. Well, it's kind of staggering. Greenfinger, same thing. I'm debating the plan for next year's garden, and I'm looking at all that cardboard and realizing it's going to be a good idea to cut that up and start weighting it down with rocks so I can use it as mulch in the garden and weed killer. So that is coming. That will probably be my busy work, like I have no other busy work, during Romeul. And that brings us up to the calendar. Well, it's come at last this week in Anaheim, the Evolution of Psychotherapy Conference from December 14th through 17th. I could go Thursday morning, but I have 2 patients, and it's going to be kind of awkward seeing if I can get into a room. So odds are high I will miss Thursday, take the train down Thursday afternoon after my 2 patients, and just breeze into Anaheim in time to settle into my hotel room and get dinner. They have given me a suite upgrade, which was really unexpected. I was under the impression I wasn't eligible for it in this hotel, and yet they have given it to me. I am a really happy camper about that, let me tell you. Meanwhile, Romeul. Yes, today I sent out the first text messages to my Monday patients. We are 2 days out from Romeul, 2 days out from Christmas Day, in fact. We're only 12 days out from Romeul. Hallelujah. I am so ready for this. So I have to get through 3 days this week. And then after Evolution, I have to get through 5 days next week. And then on my knees, I have made it. However, I got to tell you, I have beaucoup time off because I didn't take much this year. And I'm really happy about that because I've already requested the Friday of the Cognitive Fiber Retreat weekend off so that I will not blow into the hotel next year exhausted like I did this year. Meanwhile, Yarnopoly and Second Saturday Stitchers. I know that Yarnopoly is meeting this weekend, and I won't be there. And Second Saturday, I think, met last weekend. But they are there. They are both on Facebook if you want to look them up if you're in the Santa Clarita Valley. Also, I found out our local library, I did not go, but the Joanne Darcy Library has a sit and stitch 2 weekends a month, as I believe I mentioned last time. I haven't added that yet because I haven't visited them yet. However, they do it in the morning. They do it from 9 to noon, I think. And so that one's a little early in the day for me, which is beautiful. I'll get there sooner or later. But if you are in the Santa Clarita Valley, we got a lot of groups here. That's really nice. For years, we just had the group in the AV and nothing in Santa Clarita. It's very interesting, too, because they're not particularly hooked into Ravelry. They're not particularly hooked into the podcasts. Alas, I have come to a new era of Stitchers who aren't using all the resources. Meanwhile, CFR 10 will be at the Courtyard by Marriott in Valencia, where it was this past month, on September 28th, 2024. And yes, that's right. I am getting ready to reserve my room as soon as we sign the contracts. I will be there. So I'm very excited. Meanwhile, Minerva gets the last word. Okay, there is a picture of her looking at me, and she's hunting my crock. She's got her butt in it, and it was after a successful hunt where I woke up and she had her face in it and was wrestling it on the floor. You can see my trusty bike desk in the background. And she is looking up at me balefully. Why is she in hunting mode? I wish I'd gotten a picture of this. I was sitting in my study, I think it was Sunday night, and I heard a tremendous crashing. I think they saw a mouse. Captain and Minerva were in our big master bedroom, and they both came tearing down the hall. And Minerva squished her face in behind the bedroom door. I think the mouse ran out of the bathroom, and Captain saw it, and it went behind the door, which was wide open. And Minerva squished in there, and I suspect the mouse ran out the other side, and Captain went after it, and it went right into the bathroom and was able, I think, to get into a cabinet in there. And Captain went crazy. She whined and snarled and hung around that cabinet all night, whereas Minerva couldn't get out of the back of that door. She was just fascinated with the fact that was where she lost the mouse. And I think she believed that was a hole. And the mouse went in that so-called hole when it went through the door crack and out into the hallway. So I think Minerva was sitting in a mouse hole in her own head by staying behind the door, whereas Captain was doing the same thing by sitting by the cabinetry in the bathroom. No sign of any mice ever since. I think if you're a mouse, It's bad enough if something the size of Minerva, who's probably close to 20 pounds, comes after you. However, if you're a mouse and a 70-pound Newfie comes for you, you must think you've died and gone to Hades. So now we have tag team hunting. Between Minerva and Captain, they have become hunting partners. It's a little weird around here, but we like to keep it interesting on the farm. Those of you who remember our herd of camelids, which is down to one, the amazing Jubilee, who's got to be 30 years old, our last alpaca, the smartest of our alpacas. My husband points out she seems to be able to see. We thought she was blind. No, she's actually finding her way around quite happily out in the back 40 by herself. Nobody's bothering her. And she's following her routine. We tried to get her in with the pony. Pony ain't thrilled about that idea. But she won't come in. She's actually doing great. But if you're wondering what's going on outside, yes, Roxy the pony and Jubilee the alpaca, they're out there very happily together, defying all expectations. And so on that happy note, we have reached the end of our thread. I'm stealing. And I'm going to be editing. You wouldn't believe all the mistakes in this one. So here we are. I am probably having the time of my life right now as you listen to this while I am at Evolution of Psychotherapy, grooving on the psychotherapy groove with tons of socks and small things. Either that or I go crazy and take some DK and just make hats uncontrollably. Who really cares? I'm so happy to be going. And it's just a break and a rest. I don't like leaving home, I have to admit. What I really wish was I was just doing the online version, but my license requires live classes. And if you're going to do live classes, let me tell you, this is how you want to do it. So, wish me well. And next week, I'm sure you will hear all about my Evolution weekend. But in the meantime, everybody, don't forget, we are a community. When we work together as a community, we are helping ourselves. When we take care of ourselves, we help the community. It is a two-way thing. So everybody get all those shots. Take care of yourselves. Everybody stay safe. Take care of each other. And I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye. So we have come to the end of another episode of Cognitive. Please do not use this podcast to diagnose yourself. If you think you are having a mental health problem, please contact a licensed mental health professional. Show notes for these episodes can be found at cognitivepodcast, all one word, .blogspot.com. Episodes can be found at iTunes under the name Cognitive Podcast, but also can be found posted next to the show notes on the Blogspot page. Thank you so much for listening. Everybody, stay safe, take care of each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.